الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد سيد الأولين والآخرين وحبيب رب العالمين. Let's make our intentions sincerely for the sake of Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala. The moving of the mountains, the fire from Hadramaut, the gold coming from the Euphrates, the peace treaty with the Europeans. How many years is the peace treaty? 10 years. And how many years will they honor the treaty? And 2 or, some said 3, some said 3, some said 2, some said 3. Wasn't it the narration with some said 4?
On the 4.
Let me double check. Unless I didn't read it. Okay, I'll check it later, inshallah. So we said that Al-Mahdi, this is a title that the Prophet gave him, alayhi salatu wassalam. Al-Mahdi, meaning the guided one. And the Prophet alayhi salatu wassalam informed us that there are different narrations. But the one that we usually rely upon is that he would be 40 years of age when his matter becomes apparent to the people. And the scholars said that it would happen suddenly. Suddenly. It would happen at the time of Al-Hajj, during the Mawsim of Al-Hajj, the season, if you will, of Al-Hajj. And that he would go from Al-Madinah, the city of the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam, where he is buried, where the green dome is. He would go from there to Mecca, Makkah al-Mukarramah, when he is 40 years of age. And in Mecca, Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala will have facilitated for him 300 men who are amongst the pious slaves of Allah. The Messenger of Allah alayhi salatu wasalam said that there will be people whose number is the same as the people of that took part among the Muslims on the battle of Badr. So there were about 313 people. So some narrations say there will be 313 men near the Kaaba, and some said 300. Now each one of these people will be among the awliya. Every single one of these men will be among the awliya. Also what's been mentioned is that these 300 or so people, they are among the awliya who are tasked with certain matters. So the awliya in the nation of Prophet Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam, they are, compared to the rest of the people, they are very small in number. But still, their number is not like 3 or 4 people. It's a lot of people. But specific people amongst them, and these are pious slaves of Allah, every one of them learned the personal obligatory knowledge at the very least. Some of them learned a little more. Some of them might have learned a lot more. But at the very least, the prerequisite, the first condition is for them to have learned the personal obligatory knowledge. Then after that, if they implement it, they stay away from the haram, and they do the good deeds, they perform the obligations, and then on top of that, to show their devotion, to show their love for Allah, they engage actively, sincerely, willingly in extra acts of worship. Out of their love for Allah, they pray the sunnahs, they fast the sunnah fasts, they do a lot of dhikr, they take care of the poor, and so on. They fulfill people's needs, they have good manners, they have excellent manners. So this is on top of learning and staying away from the haram so they don't commit sins. Sometimes going up to a 7, 8 or 9 month period without committing a sin. They are pure. Allah Ta'ala grants them, and this is by the support of Allah. It doesn't happen without the support of Allah. They are people like us, but Allah Ta'ala enables them to reach this high rank. And this should be the goal for each and every one of us, to attain this rank. It's not something that is impossible, it's something that is doable. To reach this rank, which is expressed as a person being a wali of Allah, a pious slave of Allah. Learning the religious knowledge, staying away from the haram, performing all the obligations, and then doing extra acts of worship. For what? Because you love Allah. That's why. You want the one who loves Allah Ta'ala and has a deep love for Allah, wants to do the extra acts of worship, experiences pleasure in performing the acts of worship. For example, the angels, they are all pious slaves of Allah. Some of them are messengers and they have a higher rank. They are the chief angels, the leaders among the angels. Those angels that have not been granted that rank, they are at the very least among the awliya of Allah. They were created as awliya of Allah. They weren't created young and then they grew. No, they were created as pious, obedient, blessed slaves of Allah. Some of these angels, they are known as Az-Zabaniya. Just to give you an example of how they experience pleasure when obeying Allah. This is what is pleasurable for the pious. These angels are called Az-Zabaniya. Now Az-Zabaniya they've been appointed to inflict the punishment upon the people of hellfire. They are not affected by the flames or the extreme cold, which is a type of punishment in the hereafter. They are not affected by that. But they are there to inflict the torture upon those that deserve it in hellfire. And it is said about them that they يَتَلَذَّذُونَ بِطَاعَةِ اللَّهِ. They experience pleasure at obeying Allah Ta'ala, by obeying Allah. When the pious people enter the prayer, they experience a pleasure that they do not want to be separated from. Despite, and their lives are really hard. They have hardships. They have illnesses. They have financial problems. They have problems with their children who probably hurt them and harm them and so on. But when they enter the prayer, they experience pleasure. Why? Because they reach that rank of being true in their obedience to Allah. That whenever they have some, if you want to call it spare time, free time, what do? They fill it with worshipping Allah. Some of them, they perform a dhikr, right? At the very least, 12,000 times a day they'll say, La ilaha illallah, La ilaha illallah. One of these people, he reached this rank, and he would walk in the mountainous areas where there were no lights, in the dark, out in the wilderness, and he would say, Allah, 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 walking by himself. Out of what? Out of his love for Allah tabaraka wa ta'ala. But remember, this person has to have, this person must have learned the personal obligatory knowledge. Otherwise, no chance. This person will never become an accepted slave of Allah tabaraka wa ta'ala. Man or woman, they will never reach it. So these 300 people, or 313, that wait for Al-Mahdi at the Kaaba, بين الركن والمقام, close to, between the Kaaba and Maqam Ibrahim, they wait for him there. Some of the scholars said that these are the awliya that are tasked with certain jobs, that work together. If you will, some scholars, they refer to them as Dawlatul Awliya, the dawlah, like the government, if you will. These among the awliya, they have ranks. They have a leader, al-qutub, they have al-awtad, 4 people, they have al-abdal, 40 people, some said al-nujaba, 60 people from Egypt or Iraq, some of them are from Asham, but pious slaves of Allah. Those that eat little, not out of pleasure. Those that sleep little so they can worship Allah. You see among them extraordinary matters that occur at their hands, either by their will or not. But all of that is under the will of Allah tabaraka wa ta'ala. These pious, blessed people, in whose bodies Allah creates blessings, they will be waiting for Al-Mahdi. And they will be, and he is also a special person. He will be amongst the awliya himself. Our Shaykh radiyallahu anhu compared him and said that it's possible that he will be in rank as high as Al-Imam Ahmad al-Rifa'i, who radiyallahu anhu, who was a wali who lived in the past, who had an enormously high rank. He said it's possible that Al-Mahdi, he would have a rank that is higher than the rank of Al-Imam Ahmad al-Rifa'i. He would be very pious. He will be a mujtahid scholar, like Al-Shafi'i, like Abu Hanifa, and so on. A mujtahid scholar. So he'll be very, very, very knowledgeable. He will be a genius, because that's a prerequisite of being a mujtahid scholar. And he will be able to extract judgments from the Quran himself. So he's someone who will have studied. He's someone who will have memorized. Someone who is very pious. So the awliya, they will wait for him between the Kaaba and Maqam Ibrahim. They'll wait there for him. When he goes in the season of Al-Hajj, they will be the first to pay allegiance to him. Why would they pay allegiance to him? Because he will be the caliph. He'll be the new caliph. There are certain people, trustworthy and reliable people, they are known as Ahlul Halli wal Aqd. Ahlul Halli wal Ahlul Halli wal Aqd. Right? What are they called? I'm kind of hearing, okay. Say after me, Ahlul Hal. Oh, now I hear you, mashallah. Okay, Wal Aqd. Okay, and after me, okay, they are Ahlul Halli Wal Aqd. They are? Okay, who are they? No, who are they? Like, what do they do? They are the ones that are the upright Muslims, okay, that decide who is to be the new caliph. Okay? You can't have a bunch of Muslims who are, for example, major sinners, who don't pray, for example, so they're major sinners. 15 of them gather together and say, you're going to be the caliph. No, it doesn't work like that. You have a group of people, like the companions, when they came together and they decided who was going to be the first caliph after Prophet Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam. And they appointed Abu Bakr radiyallahu anhu. And when he passed away, Ahlul Halli wal Aqd gathered and said it's going to be Umar radiyallahu anhu. Like this, Ahlul Halli wal Aqd, the upright people, the noble, the honorable, the pious people of that time gather together and they decide, okay, in their counseling with each other, they decide who is going to be the caliph. So these people will be among the awliya and they will be among the first to pay allegiance to Al-Mahdi. When that happens, then the hearts of the awliya around the world, not just in Mecca. Those 300, because they're part of the greater government, if you will, of the awliya, that they actually do things, there are tasks that they carry out. The other awliya that are outside, that are in Al-Madinah, or they're in Mecca but not near the Kaaba, or they are in Europe or wherever they are, in the Americas, wherever they are, all of their hearts at that point in time, when Al-Mahdi allegiance is paid to him, when that happens actually, it becomes an obligation upon every Muslim now, whether in the East or the West. Once Ahlul Halli wal Aqd decide and pay allegiance, then it becomes an obligation upon all of the Muslims on the earth to pay allegiance to that person. So when they do that, this in one sense, it activates the hearts of the other awliya. It draws the hearts of the awliya around the world to Al-Mahdi. He is a very special person, as the Prophet mentioned. He said, Al-Mahdi min itrati, meaning he is, the Mahdi, will be a special descendant of mine. Min waladi Fatima. He will have a very high status. So the hearts of the awliya, they will be drawn to Al-Mahdi. And then the people, the Muslims around the world, they will try to get to him. Because then what happens after that? Mobilization. That's what happens, because what's coming? A lot of war. A lot of war. So, subhanallah, you can imagine, sometimes people ask, when our Shaykh was asked, radiyallahu anhu, what will people do? What should they do if they hear that the Mahdi has appeared? What should they do? Then he said, try to go to him. But for others, also what was advised is that one would stay where they are. One would try to go, but if they can't, one would stay where they are, and if they are needed, then the Mahdi would call. He would say, the Muslims from such and such country now, or such and such area in such and such country, I want them to come. Or those Muslims who are in that country, I want them to stay there. Who's going to look after the masajid? Who's going to look after the centers? Who's going to answer the questions that the non-Muslims may have about, well, what's happening? Why are all the Muslims going to that area? Like after certain events that occurred, and Al-Islam, it was under the spotlight, many people embraced Al-Islam. Why? Because Al-Islam was being attacked. So people were asking genuinely, look, why is it that the people are attacking the Muslims? What do they actually believe? You know, do they believe this? Do they believe that? Do they do this? Do they do that? A lot of people embraced Al-Islam. So what happens at that time, that will be under the control of Al-Mahdi. He will be the supreme leader. He will be the caliph, just as the caliph is. Isn't it that a president, he can push the red button and he can declare war and so on, and he can declare peace, and he can like that. So this will be a time where many Muslims are being oppressed as well. And if you think about the past year, and a little before that perhaps also, and a little before that, and it's amazing, just as the Prophet ﷺ said, look how things can actually change in one night, right? The Prophet ﷺ said about Al-Mahdi, يُصْلِحُهُ اللَّهُ فِي لَيْلَةٍ. In one night, literally in one night, Allah will fix him up, meaning Allah will provide, will enable, will facilitate for him all of the means for victory. In one night. Look how things can change in one night. Look at Syria in one night. What happened? You also, I'm sure, what happened in Syria. Very recently. No, you didn't see? Nobody saw? Or one person saw. Okay, subhanAllah. How things change really quickly in one night, just as an example. In one day. The Prophet ﷺ said from the route of Ali radiyallahu anhu, as was narrated by Ibn Majah, Al-Mahdi minna ahl al-bayt. Al-Mahdi is from us, from the family of the Prophet ﷺ. Yuslihuhu Allahu fi laylah. Allah will provide, will facilitate for him asbab al-nasr, meaning the means for victory. So think about what that means then. Whatever he will need, it will be provided. Whether it's people or otherwise. Different types of resources. So Al-Mahdi will be born in Al-Madinah. He will be from the household of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He is, he will not be, in terms of complexion, he will not be a radiant white with redness like the Prophet was, alayhi salatu wasalam. No, he will be slightly darker than that. And he will be a person who is not too tall and not too short, but he was described as being closer to being tall. He will have a receding hairline, so his hair is falling out. He's about 40 years of age. So he will have a receding hairline. And remember, how would we know any of this? The Prophet ﷺ, he was told to inform. He will have his nose will be long, and it will have a slight bend in it, as the noses of people do. A thick beard. It is as though he has al-kuhul in his eyes, but he will not. On his right cheek there is a beauty spot, a black beauty spot. He will exit from Al-Madinah and he will go to Mecca. Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala will support him with angels, and that is part of the means that will be facilitated for him. Some scholars said that he would emerge, he would appear, his matter would become apparent between the ages of 30 and 40, and some said 40. And the people will pay allegiance to him, the 300 that we mentioned, or the 313 in one narration. بَيْنَ الرُّكْنِ وَالْمَقَامِ, between one of the sides of the Kaaba and Maqam Ibrahim, where Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salam had stood to rebuild the Kaaba. The Prophet told us alayhi salatu wasalam, when this happens, there will be people who attempt to attack him from Ash-Sham. Ash-Sham, which includes Syria and other places in that area. This is known as Ash-Sham. An army will attack him from Ash-Sham. When they hear about his appearance, an army will attack him from that area. Now, the Prophet said, alayhi salatu wasalam, that these people, they will not reach Al-Mahdi. Rather, what will happen is that the earth will swallow them up. The earth, it will open up and it will take them in, and it will return back to how it was. Here, it's fitting now, another small sign of the Day of Judgment, at the time of Al-Mahdi, is that a man known as Sufyani will appear. The Prophet mentioned Sufyani. He said, as is mentioned in one of the narrations, that Sufyani is a person who will emerge from the depths of Damascus. Which country is Damascus in? Syria. He said, alayhi salatu wassalam, that this person will emerge from the depths of Damascus. And he mentioned some details about that. He said, sallallahu alayhi wasallam, he said, يخرج رجل يقال له السفياني من عمق دمشق. A man known as Sufyani. This is his title, like Al-Mahdi. This is the title, the guided one, right? Sufyani. Some scholars said that he's known as Sufyani because his lineage, it goes back to Abu Sufyan. Abu Sufyan, who is the father of the he was also a companion of the Prophet alayhi salatu wassalam, Abu Sufyan. His son was Muawiyah, right? So these two companions. From that lineage, so from Abu Sufyan's lineage, some scholars said this person called Sufyani, or known as Sufyani, he will be from that lineage. That's why he's known as Sufyani. Okay? Because his great-great-great-great-grandfather was known as Abu Sufyan. يخرج رجل يقال له السفياني في عمق دمشق. This person will emerge from the depths, the Prophet said, from deep in Damascus. See, now these statements, they are clear in that, yes, subhanallah, from deep in Damascus, but we will only really understand them to their full extent when it actually happens. Because now we can contemplate and we can think, we can speculate about, okay, maybe it means this, maybe it means he's gonna deep in Damascus, like in the middle of Damascus, or deep in Damascus, meaning that his family is originally from Damascus, so he has deep roots. Is that what it means? Or what does it mean exactly? So, it's open to interpretation in that sense. But the Prophet mentioned it, alayhi salatu wassalam. He mentioned, فَيَقْتُلُ حَتَّى يَبْقَرَ بُطُونَ النِّسَاءِ. He will murder, he will kill, he will slaughter people such that he will butcher the fetuses within the bellies of their mothers. وَيَقْتُلُ الصِّبْيَانَ, and he will kill children. He mentioned alayhi salatu wassalam, وَيَخْرُجُ رَجُلٌ مِّنْ أَهْلِ بَيْتِي فِي الْحَرَّةِ. Then while the Sufyani is doing these things, there are other details as well. Like for example, the Sufyani, he will send an army to the east. and he will send an army also to the west, to Al-Madinah. When a Sufyani hears that Al-Mahdi has appeared, so you see how these things, they intertwine. When he hears that Al-Mahdi has appeared, he will send an army to fight Al-Mahdi. He will also have sent an army to Alexandria in Egypt. And from there he will also send an army, and they will ruin Alexandria. Al-Iskandariya. From there he will send an army to Iraq also, to Baghdad, and then to Khurasan. The Sufyani will cause havoc. He won't be physically with all those armies, not every one of them. But when he hears, the Prophet said, alayhi salatu wassalam, that a man from my family, min ahli bayti, yakhruju rajulun min ahli bayti fil harra, meaning in Mecca, when Al-Mahdi appears, فَيَبْلُغُ السُّفْيَانِي, the Sufyani, this news will reach him. What will he do? فَيَبْعَثُ إِلَيْهِ جُنْدًا مِنْ جُنْدِهِ فَيَهْزِمُهُمْ. He will send an army towards Al-Mahdi, and the Mahdi, along with the Muslims, they will defeat this army that As-Sufyani sends. Then after that, فَيَسِيرُ إِلَيْهِ السُّفْيَانِيُّ بِمَنْ مَعَهُ. And then he will, the Sufyani himself, he will leave wherever he is and he will march towards the Mahdi and his army. حَتَّى إِذَا صَارَ بِبَيْدَاءَ مِنَ الْأَرْضِ. That when he reaches Al-Bayda, Al-Bayda is a land where nothing grows, like an open land. When he reaches an open land, خُسِفَ بِهِمْ. The earth, it would open up, the ground would open up, and they would be swallowed. فَلَا يَنْجُو مِنْهُمْ إِلَّا الْمُخْبِرُ عَنْهُمْ. None of them will be spared, bar those that would inform about them. Some of them would inform about them. So the Sufyani, he is someone who is evil. Now the reason why I say it like that is because sometimes people confuse two people, okay? There is someone known as a Sufyani, who we've just mentioned, right? Who will emerge from which city? Damascus, right? From deep in Damascus, yes? في عمق دمشق. And there's another person known as Al-Qahtani. What's he known as? Qahtani. This Al-Qahtani is a pious person. He is among the awliya. He is also going to come. But he's going to come, some scholars said, at the time of Al-Mahdi, but what's apparent is at the time of Prophet Isa alayhi salam. Well, the Mahdi will still be there. But he is also going to appear, Al-Qahtani. Okay, so don't confuse the two. As-Sufyani is the one we've just mentioned. And he will be swallowed by the earth along with his army. Then after this, the Mahdi, he will go from Mecca, and he will go, some scholars, depending, there are different narrations. Some scholars said he would go to Damascus. And some scholars said he would go to Jerusalem. And there he would mobilize. He would gather people, train, and so on. For about 7 years. Then, see, if you want to truly understand the events, okay, you need to make a timeline, okay? So 7 or 8 years, the scholars said, after the Mahdi appears, so let's say he appeared, okay, at this point, 7 or 8 years after that, okay, a huge event is going to occur. So let's say the Mahdi has appeared. Okay? 7 or 8 years after that, a huge event occurs. Okay. Let's say now, this huge event, let's minus 3 years from that. Okay? You with me, yeah? So what's going to happen in that first year of the third, so 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, then that big event. In that first year, the rain, a third of the rain is going to be withheld. So the amount of rain that had fallen in the previous year, okay, only 2/3 of that rain will fall. One third will not fall. Then in the second year, 2/3 of the rain will be withheld, meaning how much rain would fall? 1/3. Then in that third year, all the rain will be withheld, and the plants would die. The Prophet mentioned, alayhi salatu wasalam, the cattle would die. Cattle, goats, sheep, they would die. Then in the year after that, the Muslims, they will take Constantinople. They will go to Istanbul. The Mahdi, his army would go to Istanbul. If we think about it now, we think, why Istanbul? Isn't it? The Prophet was truthful, alayhi salatu wasalam. We'll see what happens. When they are there, when they are in Istanbul and they have put their weapons, they've hung their weapons up, and Istanbul, Constantinople, Al-Qustantiniya is under their control. Somebody would call out and say, and this is a lie, someone will call out and say, the Dajjal has appeared. Rush back to your families. The Dajjal has appeared. So the Muslims, thinking that a Dajjal has appeared, they will return. Shortly after that, the Dajjal will appear, and he will first appear in Asbahan. Do you know where Asbahan is? Which country is it? Iran. The Prophet ﷺ said, يَتْبَعُهُ سَبْعُونَ أَلْفًا مِنَ الْيَهُودِ مِنْ يَهُودِ أَصْبَهَانِ 70,000 Jews from Asbahan will follow ad-Dajjal. They have a large Jewish community, in Iran. You should look it up. Even, now they do. So the Dajjal will appear. That's where he will emerge first. Of course, he's not there now. He's on, we know the story. We're not going to be going through all the details of the Dajjal, okay? Because we want to speak about Isa alayhi salam. But he is now, yes, as the companion Tamim ibn Aus ad-Dari radiyallahu anhu confirmed, he was shipwrecked and they were on an island and they found a Dajjal. He was locked away and he asked certain questions. So ad-Dajjal is there where Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala knows him to be. But he will first appear in Iran. Okay. Next. So up to here, what do we have? At this point in the narrative, in the chain of events, we have Al-Mahdi, who is alive. We have Ad-Dajjal. Also, the Sufyani has died. there have been armies that have been swallowed up by the earth, and Al-Mahdi now is where? Where did we say he went to? Oh, after that. His army in Istanbul. Where is he centered? One of two places, the narrations say. Either Damascus, so from Mecca he would go to Damascus, or from Mecca he would go to Jerusalem, Bayt al-Maqdis. Okay. So let's stop today here, inshallah, and we'll continue tomorrow. We'll speak about the descent of Isa alayhi salam. We speak about with details, inshallah. We speak about his description, we speak about Ya'juj and Ma'juj, we speak about what relates to Ad-Dajjal and Isa alayhi salam, and then life after Ya'juj and Ma'juj, until we mention the passing of Prophet Isa alayhi salam, inshallah. Let's say La ilaha illallah, as-salam ala nabi. La ilaha illallah, Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam.